Good morning to all. Myself Shazana, and let's study about the forces. Firstly, you will ask, what is a force? So, a force is just a simple push or a pull. Like, take example, take this marker here. So, I am applying force in it. What I mean, I am pushing it. You can see here. And something like this. So what I am doing here, I am pushing this board. So the force is just a push, a normal push or a pull. Now let's talk this force in the detail. Firstly, let's categorize the force. So the force is broadly classified into two groups. Let me talk about that. So firstly, forces is classified into two groups. Here is a contact force and a non-contact force. Non-contact force. So there are two types of force, contact force and a non-contact force. So by the names you can guess that the contact force is when the two objects touch each other, and the non-contact force is just the opposite of the contact force, which means the force which is not dependent on the touching of the object. It can be occur when the two objects do not touch. So taking some examples of these, like in the contact force, the examples will be the friction, and in a non-contact force, there is a two example. Let me tell you. First is the gravity and also the magnetism. Let's talk about these one by one. Firstly, the contact force or the friction. So what is a friction? As you can see that it is a contact force. What does it mean and what happens in this friction? When the two objects touches each other. Let me tell you. When the two objects touches each other and the resistance or something like, for example, rub your hand like this. So you will see a little resistance. So that is what a friction is. When two objects touches each other, that force is called the friction. And if there will be no friction, we can't walk, because we are walking on the ground because of the friction. And what does it mean? Let me tell you. So when we are walking, our legs or our footwear is touching the ground, and here you can see that the two objects is touching our footwear and the ground is touching each other, and that which force will be occur in this? The friction. So that's what a friction means. And you know that the meteorite, when meteorite fall on the Earth's atmosphere, when it enters the Earth's atmosphere, so what happened? That the meteor and the atmosphere, between that the friction happens. And if the meteor is so small or it is not stronger, so it breaks down because of the friction with the atmosphere. And why does the tires of the car heat up when we drive, when we do a long drive? That's because of the friction. So a friction is just a contact force, and when the two objects rough each other, the resistance or the force which is occurring in this is what we call the friction. Talking about the non-contact force. Firstly, the gravity. I think you know that gravity, and one more special thing about this is that the gravity is not present only on the earth. It is universal. So a gravity is a universal force. Now how can I say this surely? That's because all the planets revolving around the sun is because of the sun's gravity. A gravity is again a force, and like take that, if I will drop something like this sharpener over here. So if I will drop this down, something like this. Oh, it fall down. So why does it fall down? Why does it don't go up? That's because of the gravity. And can you here see any contact between two objects? No. That means a gravity is the non-contact force. And now if you will ask, at what direction does the gravity pushes, or at what direction does the gravity apply force? So you will say that the gravity apply force downwards. Now what does this downward mean? Okay, let me imagine here the earth. So you know that the earth is spherical, and if I am standing over here at this point of the earth, so if I am standing over here, my downward will, or my down is this, and my up is this. And if I am standing at this point, take like this point, so my downward will be this, and my upward will be this. What does this downward mean? Here my downward is something like this. But when I am standing at this side of the earth, my downward or my upward is just opposite of this case. What I mean, over here, my downward is the upward of this case. Now what does this downward mean? And what if I am standing over here? So again, my downward will be here and my upward will be here. And what if I am standing over here? My downward will be here and my upward will be there. Just the opposite of this. So if you will notice something, you can notice that all the downward direction is pointing to the core of the earth, or to the center of the earth. Now that's the answer. The gravity apply force at the core of the earth, or to the core of the earth, to the center of the earth. So we can say that gravity apply force to the center of the earth. So now I think that this is clear to you. Firstly, the gravity is a non-contact force, and the direction in which the gravity applies force is at the center of the earth. Because if someone will ask you that at which direction does the gravity apply its force, and if you will see that it applies the force downward, so that will be totally wrong. Why is that? You can see over this you can see this, that if I'm standing over here, my downward will be like, say, something like this, and if I am standing over here, it will be just opposite of this. My downward is the upward of this case. So the downward, if I will say that the gravity apply force downward, so that will be totally wrong. And what will be our answer then? The gravity applied force at the center of the earth. You can see that all the downward direction is just pointing to the center of the earth. This is also clear to you that the gravity is a universal force. What that means? That means that gravity don't exist on this planet, on the earth. Not. It does not exist on the earth planet only. It exists in the universe also. That's why this is called the universal force. It is existing out of this planet Earth. So I think that this is also clear to you. Now, do you know which scientist has discovered this gravity? The Newton. You know that? The famous scientist which had discovered this gravity. And there is a famous story saying that scientist Newton sir was sitting under the tree and under the apple tree, and once the apple from that tree fall on his head, and then he start wondering about that, and then he discovered about the gravity. So let's talk about the magnetism. Let me rub this all for you. Okay, so let's learn about the magnetism. Have you ever played with the magnets? The bar magnet? Let me tell you. So the bar magnets look something like this. This is what a bar magnet is. So if you have ever played with the magnets, the bar magnets or other kind of magnets, you have noticed that there are 2 points on the magnet. Let me take. So there are the 2 ends. Let's first take an example like the bar magnet over here. So if you will see a bar magnet, there are 2 ends of that. This one and this. So I can't tell you like this is the first end or A end and B end. These ends have a name. They are called the poles of the magnet. They are called the poles of the magnet. And in the magnet there are 2 poles. Let me tell you. So magnets has 2 poles, which is the north pole and the south pole. Now if you will see a magnet, the north pole is marked as a white dot, something like this. So in this bar magnet, the north pole will be this, and the south pole will be the opposite of that, this one. So this is the south and this is the north. Now if you have ever played with that, so you will notice that if you will bring 2 magnets together, they will repel or they will attract each other. So here what is happening? Here is a force applying. The force is applying from the magnet, and as the force is applying, it has some special name. Yes. So that name, the force applied by the magnet, is what we call a magnetism. And the magnets don't attract all of the things. If you will place a magnet towards like the wood or something else, or take an example of a wood, so the magnet will don't attract that wood, and also the magnet don't attract all the metals. It attracts some of the metals, and that metals are called the magnetic things or the magnetic material. And you can see it is that the magnets have the two poles. And let me tell you that the like poles repel each other and the unlike pole attract each other. What I mean? Let me tell you. So if I will bring a magnet, the north and a south pole of the magnet together, they will attract each other. Attraction will happen. And if I will bring south pole of a magnet and the south pole of the another magnet, they will repel each other. So if I will bring the south pole or a north pole of any magnet, any two magnets, they will repel each other. If I will bring the unlike pole, they will attract, and if I will bring the like pole, they will repel. Here is the amazing thing happening. Now, I think that this is also clear to you. Let me tell you. So we have learned that the magnetism is a force applied by the magnet, and we had also learned that magnet has the two poles, which is a north pole and a south pole. In a bar magnet, the north pole is marked as a white dot and the south pole is just opposite of that. The unlike pole attract each other and the like poles repel each other. Now I think that forces is clear to you. Now if you want any improvement in me, so you can comment that in the comment box. And for now, thank you and have a cheerful day ahead. Thank you.